Welcome to Worth the Twist, a new series where you take a look at Rubik's Cubes of different kinds and compare them against each other. Today, we're going to be doing the very first series, a Smart Cube edition, where we'll be comparing the cheapest Smart Cube to the most expensive Smart Cube. At the cheap end, we have the Qiyi SCS Smart Cube, which retails for $22.99, which is absolutely insane. A Smart Cube for such a low price? Well, now let's compare this to the world's most expensive Smart Cube, the GAN 12 UI Freeplay, which retails for $19.99. This cube is almost $100 more than the cheapest Smart Cube. In this comparison, we're going to be focusing on cube specs, performance of the cubes, as well as the Smart Cube aspect by primarily checking out the respective apps. So let's start off by comparing specs, starting off with battery life. The Qiyi Smart Cube is designed in a way where there's no charging required. It has over 800 hours of battery life, and once that 800 hours is depleted, the battery can be replaced with a new battery. This does take a lot of work to do, but it rarely happens. Compare this to the GAN 12 UI Freeplay. This cube works a different way. It has 15 hours of battery life and it is rechargeable. You just have to put in your cube to the charging station and it charges. Now, let's move on. Talk about size and weight. Both cubes are 56 millimeters. As for weight, the Qiyi SCS Smart Cube weighs 82 grams and the GAN 12 UI weighs 70 grams. Now, let's talk about magnets because both of these cubes are magnetic cubes. The Qiyi Smart Cube has your normal edge to center magnets, while the GAN 12 UI actually has additional magnets. It has corner center magnets, just like the GAN 12, and that's because this cube is exactly based off of the GAN 12, just with electronic parts put in it. So now let's move on and talk about viewing of this cube. So, as I stated, for the GAN 12 UI, it's literally a GAN 12 just with electronic parts, so it feels the same, very buttery smooth. Compare this to the Qiyi SCS cube, which is smooth as well, but a little more scratchy. Now let's talk about speed of both cubes. Speed is pretty good for both cubes. They're pretty fast and pretty controllable. Now onto corner cutting. Corner cutting on both cubes are more than adequate. I will say the Qiyi does struggle a little bit with the bigger angles, but it can still do the job. With that said, how does that result to performance of the cube as a whole? Well, both cubes don't lock up very much and they perform pretty well. I will say the GAN does slightly perform better, but again, it is $100 more. So let's move on and talk about the respective apps for each Smart Cube. The Qiyi app is called Smart Player Pro and the GAN app is called Cube Station. So the Qiyi app has some non-Smart Cube features, but we're going to ignore it. Same thing with the GAN. We're here to strictly talk about Smart Cubes. So let's start off by talking about UI. Qiyi wins in UI. And that's because the Qiyi UI is much cleaner, it's easier to find things. The GAN UI is a little harder to navigate, but once you understand how it works, I guess you just know where everything is, right? So, I guess in a sense, it's not the end of the world, but clearly the Qiyi is better. Next up, let's talk about the features. And let's start off by talking about the features that both of the apps have. Solving, racing, reconstructions, and statistics. These are the main features when it comes to a Smart Cube, and both of these have them both. So let's compare them to each other. Solving, just about the same. It's really similar. You just follow the scramble and you solve. The only thing is, the GAN robot does have connectivity with the Cube Station app and can scramble your GAN 12 UI or any GAN Smart Cube, so you can use that. And for the timer, you can also use the GAN Halo Smart Timer to use that for timer practice. I believe the Qiyi app also allows you to do the same thing with their Qiyi timer as well, so just wanted to mention this. Now let's move on and talk about racing. Racing actually works a little differently on both of the apps. When you race on the Qiyi app, it's a best of one race, and you can race the same opponent up to 3 times in a row before you have to get a new opponent. GAN app works differently. I believe it's a best of 3 for lower elo players, and it's a best of 5 for higher elo players. I will also have to mention I find the Qiyi races much more enjoyable as they are more competitive compared to the GAN races, which I usually win quite easily. Now let's move on and talk about reconstructions and statistics. Reconstructions and statistics are really similar. The only thing is that the GAN does have a gyroscope, so it can supposedly tell your rotations. But here's the thing. The gyroscope is dumb and useless because it never tells you rotations correctly. So it's pretty pointless. With that said, these two apps are really similar, just as I mentioned, the GAN's gyroscope doesn't work, but it's not a big deal. With that said, they're about the same. Now let's talk about features that exist on one app but not the other, starting off with Qiyi, where there is a place for you to follow algorithm to provide. So now let's move on and talk about things that exist on one app but not the other, starting off with the Qiyi app, which has a place where you can follow algorithms to make patterns. Pretty cool, but at the same time a little unnecessary. You could just go to internet, Google patterns, and just follow the algorithm. But I guess this also makes sure that you're following the algorithm correctly. You mess up, it'll correct you. So I guess that's alright, but kind of unnecessary. GAN actually has something kind of similar, but that's actually more useful, which is algorithm library, where you can drill algorithms or learn algorithms, and it has something similar where it makes sure that you are doing the right algorithm. You make a mistake, it'll tell you, and it'll try to fix you. I'll be honest, I don't personally use it, but I should because it's actually kind of useful and neat. With that said, which app is better, GAN or Qiyi? Well, here's what I want to say. Algorithm library, very nice, and that's definitely the best feature out of any of the apps here. But I'm going to have to give the overall winner to the Qiyi. And that's because the Qiyi UI is much cleaner and the races are so much better. With that said, now let's take a look at this as a whole. Which is the better smart cube? Well, here's what I'll say. If there was no price difference, it'd be a hard decision because they're both very good. But there's a $100 price difference, and that makes things easy to decide. The Qiyi Smart Cube is so good value at $22.99. GAN 12 UI also solid, but the price is just too much. With that said, I recommend the GAN 12 UI and the Qiyi Smart Cube. I recommend both, but I think for most people, the Qiyi Smart Cube is the clear winner. With that said, if you're interested in getting any of the two Smart Cubes, I've linked them in the description as they're available at the Cubicle, my favorite cube store and sponsor of this channel. They have all the best speed cubes and even a huge selection of non-WCA puzzles, and you can use discount code CUBECWP at checkout for a discount off all orders. Huge thanks to them for sponsoring this channel. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe.